Okay, so we are in lesson 23. We're on page 666. We are doing completing the square when the a value is something other than 1. So you look at the first two. You take out the 2 and you do x squared minus 4x. Now if you haven't watched the Math by 5s video, you should watch that. Right now we have a 0 right there. We're going to take the middle term that we just got, the middle coefficient I should say, and that's negative 4. I take the middle coefficient and I divide it by 2 and I get negative 2. I take the middle coefficient, I divide it by 2 and I get I square it and I get 4. Now we did this in the last lesson, that's why I'm going straight through it. I'm going to add 4 and subtract 4 because that is still 0. I take the 2 and then I look at these first two right here, first 3, and I get x minus 2 all squared. And look, that little negative 2 goes right up there. I still have the minus 4 and a minus 7. Then I distribute and I get 2 times x minus 2 all squared minus 8 minus 7. Then when I combine like terms, I just completed the square. The next one, you do the same thing, but this time you have a 3 that needs to be factored out. When I do that, I get x squared plus 4x, leave some space, and I get my plus 4. I do my middle coefficient, and that's 4. I take my middle coefficient, I divide it by 2, and I get 2. Take my middle coefficient, divide it by 2, and square it, and amazingly, I get 4, just like I did on the problem before. So then I add 4 and subtract 4, like I did a moment ago. I look at the first 3 terms. I have a 3. I factor this. Amazingly, you use this middle coefficient divided by 2. So I get plus 2. I square that. I have the minus 4 out front, or out back, and a plus 4. Then I distribute. Minus 12 plus 4. And then finally, I get 3 x plus 2 squared minus 8. Then if I do number 8, doing the same thing I've just done on the last 2 problems, I look at these two. I take out a 4 and I get x squared minus 6x. Ooh, it's something other than 4 this time. And a plus 3. Then I look at my middle coefficient this time is negative 6. I take my middle coefficient, I divide it by 2, and I get negative 3. Then on my middle coefficient divided by 2 all squared, I am going to get 9. Then I plug that in, I add 9 and I subtract 9. I then complete the square and get x minus 3, see, minus 3, all squared, minus 9, plus 3. I distribute, I get 4, parenthesis x minus 3, all squared, minus 36, plus 3. Then I go ahead and combine like terms, and I've got my answer. Now I want you to do the next 3, 9 through 11, on your own, and then I will put up my answer. Okay, so you should have done your work, and this is what you should have gotten. Now the next one is what it wants to know what the difference is between what we just did and the vertex form that we did before. What are we missing? We're just missing the y equals. So, if we go to page 667, all we have to do is write down the equations that we just found So for this one, what is my vertex point? Well, this is my x value, my y value. So I get to -15. Then this one, we look back at number 7 and we get y equals 3 parentheses x plus 2 all squared minus 8. My x value, -2. My y value, -8. And number 15. I'm going to write it down just a little bit further so that we can actually see it. So this is going to be 4 parentheses x minus 3 all squared minus 33. So I get 3, -33. Okay, you're now going to do the next problems. Okay, so you should have done that. I'm going to just write the vertex here so that we can actually see it. I got this for the first one, or for 16, 17, and let's move the paper just a tad so that we can actually see this. -3, -13. So that is lesson 23.